Trump attorney Steve the Pitbull Sadow showed DA Fani Willis what's what yet again when he filed a brief asking Judge Scott McAfee to toss out 2 counts in the Georgia election fraud case, arguing that the local Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis cannot charge him with making false filings in federal court. And this may just be the first of Trump's wins in court, as Trump attorney Will Scharf is saying he had a very good day in front of the Supreme Court, who are deciding on legal immunity for the former president. And according to Republican strategist Stuart Stevens, this is all contributing to Donald Trump's grand plan to take the White House back in November. Because in Stevens' words, being stuck in a courtroom is just what Donald Trump needed. Remember, guys, this is Stuart Stevens talking here. This guy is a former Republican political consultant who has worked on many campaigns for federal and state office, including the presidential campaigns of George W. Bush and Mitt Romney. So he definitely knows what he's talking about here. And according to him, the trial gives Donald Trump the benefits of renewed interest from voters and the media, with no burden on his team to increase campaigning or even to produce newsworthy events. Kind of smart, right? And it definitely looks like it's working. Even union workers are now cheering for the former president. He stopped at a New York construction site just recently, and the workers say they're all about the former president. Even our allies are already preparing for a Trump second term. Germany is waging a charm offensive inside the Republican Party. Japan is lining up its own Trump whisperer. Mexican government officials are talking to Camp Trump. And Australia is busy making laws to help Trump-proof its U.S. defense ties. Honestly, it's not that surprising, especially considering that the former president Donald Trump holds a clear lead over President Biden in 4 of the 7 key battleground states that will likely decide the 2024 election, and is narrowly ahead of the incumbent in 2 others. Now, across 7 states surveyed, Trump led Biden 49 to 43%. So you guys ready for Trump 2.0? That's what we're here to discuss in today's video, so sit tight, you guys. Let's go ahead and dive right in. All right, so first, here's Trump's attorney Will Scharf talking about the good day in court that they had with the former president's immunity case. Check it out.
David Axelrod was a campaign consultant, also worked in the White House for Obama. He now has a big podcast, and he tweeted this yesterday. Based on what we heard today from SCOTUS, it sure feels that Trump may skate past the election without standing trial on the federal January 6 charges. If so, the New York City trial is likely the only he'll face pre-November. Under the circumstances, it's the best scenario he could have hoped for. How do you see it?
Yeah, we were certainly optimistic coming out of the Supreme Court yesterday. They seem to be taking this issue of presidential immunity, the scope of presidential immunity, very, very seriously. And they seemed very receptive to our arguments that without a robust presidential immunity for a president's official acts in office, the presidency itself as an institution could be absolutely crippled, and we wouldn't have presidents able to take the sort of decisive action that the Constitution intended because of this fear of political prosecutions after they leave office.
So yeah, there you go, guys. Trump's attorney Will Scharf laying out the facts and giving that very serious warning that this case could determine the effectiveness of future presidents based on their fear of political prosecution after their term is over. And so this is why Donald Trump's legal team, together with his supporters, is calling for all of the courts to drop the charges against former President Donald Trump. That way, it'll be smooth sailing for President Trump 2024. So Trump's wins are already beginning. So first, there's Trump's attorney Steve the Pitbull Sadow. So Steve Sadow is pulling off a major legal move that could mean the dismissal of court charges in the Georgia case. Yep, that's right, guys. The one that's being prosecuted by none other than Fulton County DA Fani Willis. One document involved a slate of Republican electors that Willis says was phony. The other centers on federal lawsuit that prosecutors allege included false claims of election fraud. In his filings, Steve Sadow argued that only the U.S. prosecutors can file charges related to documents in federal court. This is why people are saying that the Pitbull is absolutely amazing, basically running circles around Fani Willis, and Trump supporters are glad the Republican presidential nominee was able to hire Sadow first. Now, like I said in previous videos, they just keep throwing legal cases at Donald Trump, but our former president just keeps knocking them out of the park. Trump faces 4 indictments, including one in New York over hush money payments. In Georgia, Supreme Court Judge Scott McAfee has not set a trial date for Donald Trump and 14 co-defendants. The former president faces 10 counts, including racketeering, related to his efforts to overturn his loss to President Joe Biden in the swing state. But just last month, Judge Scott McAfee dismissed 6 counts of violation of oath by a public officer, including 3 against the former president president, saying that those counts didn't spell out clearly how actions violated the law. And when asked about his new move from Steve Sadow and Donald Trump's legal team, a spokesperson for Fani Willis declined to comment. Critics say that Fani Willis is a product of DEI, and perhaps she may be in way over her head here with Donald Trump's legal team running circles around her. You can be sure that Donald Trump's team isn't forgetting about the election either. In fact, Republican strategist Stuart Stevens points out being stuck in a courtroom is exactly what Trump needs. Stevens is a former Republican political consultant who has worked with many campaigns for federal and for state office, including the presidential campaigns of George W. Bush and Mitt Romney. So it's pretty safe to say that this guy, he knows what he's talking about. Now, according to him, the trial gives Donald Trump a unique platform to underscore the core message of his campaign. He is a victim of a political witch hunt headed by his presidential rival, Joe Biden. For the upcoming weeks, the presumptive Republican presidential nominee will be spending most of his time in a New York courthouse. Normally, if a candidate is absent from the campaign trail for a large portion of April and May in an election year, it would be a major setback. But Donald Trump and normal, they usually don't go together. The experienced team running Donald Trump's campaign didn't plan for this courtroom drama, but they see the potential here. For them, the Manhattan courtroom will serve as the backdrop for Trump to embody the archetype of an American underdog fighting up against corrupt, powerful forces, the wronged man seeking justice from corrupt, powerful forces. He is comfortable playing this role, and that counts for a lot. Presidential campaigns spend a lot of time fine-tuning their schedules, figuring out the ideal number of events, where to hold them and when. But what matters most is creating a setting where the candidate can shine. During George W. Bush's 2000 presidential campaign, for example, they often staged events at schools because education was his key issue as Texas governor. He knew the subject well and was passionate about it. And that's probably why when the 9/11 attacks happened, it wasn't exactly surprising President Bush was at an elementary school reading to students. As for Trump, we all know the man thrives on massive rallies, drawing energy from the crowd. But these events can start to feel repetitive, and cable news networks don't always cover them much like they used to. They also don't spark as much conversation among voters. And so now, in contrast, the trial gives Donald Trump the benefits of renewed interest from voters and the media with no burden on his team to increase campaigning or even produce a newsworthy event. See how that worked out for him? What they don't often say about running for politics is that campaigns are they're battling against a tight schedule and limited resources. And the political map is enormous. But here's a little known secret. Sometimes where you campaign doesn't matter as much as you think. As Stevens pointed out, a courthouse could be as valuable as the swingiest swing district in the swingiest swing state. In this sense, the New York trial not only presents an escape from the traditional campaigning, but it also creates a unique strategic opportunity for Mr. Trump. The Trump campaign isn't focused on persuading people. It's all about really tapping into the anger and dissatisfaction among his supporters, turning their vote into a righteous act of fury, not a mere civic duty. Now, if you believe the deep state stole the last election, then the legal cases against Donald Trump, they become further proof of the state's desperation to keep him from reassuming this rightful place in the Oval Office. Plus, with a less than inspiring Biden coalition in the mix, Donald Trump pretty much has a path to an electoral college victory. I mean, if you look at it, Trump's approach isn't all that new when it comes to its reliance on mobilizing his existing base rather than expanding it. In this particular context, the indictments and the court appearances are almost a blessing. Trump is now framing his persecution as a fight against corrupt and largely non-white prosecutors. This is the burden that he says that he's carrying on his path to the White House. The judge overseeing Donald Trump's case has made it very clear that the looming election won't change the court schedule, but Trump is making it work. In fact, I can already imagine the Biden campaign watching the trial wondering, how is this guy still in the race? And it's a very fair question. But as we all know, Trump is very much still in the race and he can still win. Now, I got a lot more for you guys in this video, including how union workers and the US allies, they seem to be agreeing on one thing, that it's time to prepare for a Trump second term. Now, we're going to talk about that in just a little bit. But first, just a quick thanks to you guys for watching this video and a double big thanks for lighting up the like button. You know, I appreciate you guys here on the channel. And so make sure you don't miss out on our future updates. Hit the subscribe button and turn on that notification bell, you guys. Totally free and lets you stay up to date on the latest videos. Now, speaking of, let's continue with this one right here, okay? So yeah, like I was saying, so Donald Trump is making the most of his time in New York. Ahead of his court appearance, the former president was able to stop and say hello to some union workers who were still hard at work on the job but seemed equally thrilled to see the former president. Darren Gould, 58, a general foreman carpenter from Wanaque, New Jersey, said that he feels Donald Trump is going to come back and get this country back on its feet. He commented how some critics say unions aren't big for Trump, but, well, they are. He says maybe the top union brass aren't, but when you talk to the men on the construction site, they're all about Trump. Prasad, a sheet metal worker, said he wasn't following Trump's court case, but he felt that they were always trying to get him on something, but it doesn't change his mind on the former president. He says Trump's good for the economy. The administration now, they're not doing a good job. We have high inflation, and what's happening at the border is too crazy, it's ridiculous. What can I say, guys? I mean, even U.S. allies are preparing for a second term for Trump. Everywhere, U.S. allies are taking steps to defend or advance their interests in the event former President Donald Trump returns to power in November elections. Some foreign leaders have contacted Donald Trump directly, despite the risk of irking his election rival, Democratic President Joe Biden. Saudi's Crown Prince recently phoned Trump while Hungary's Prime Minister and Poland's President met him in person in recent weeks. British Foreign Minister David Cameron also held talks with Donald Trump last month at his Florida resort. He told reporters in Washington afterwards that his meeting was a private dinner where they discussed the Ukraine, the Israel-Gaza war, and the future of NATO. I mean, those definitely sound like topics you should be talking about with the next U.S. president, right? Like campaign spokesperson Carolyn Levitt said, it looks like America's allies are anxiously hoping that President Trump will be reelected. We're seeing it too in the latest polls. The Bloomberg News Morning Consult swing state poll shows Donald Trump leading Biden by 7 percentage points in Arizona, 6 points in Georgia, 8 points in Nevada, and 10 points in North Carolina. The Republican, 77 years old, also led his Democratic rival by 4 percentage points in Wisconsin, just inside the poll's margin of error. In Biden's very own birth state of Pennsylvania, Trump led the president by a single point, while the president held a 2-point edge over Donald Trump in Michigan. Now, across the 7 states surveyed, Trump led Biden 49 to 43%. So tell me what you guys think. Do you feel like everything's coming up for Trump? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below, and I'll be sure to read them before our next video. I'm definitely excited to hear from you guys because your comments help us plan our future content for the channel. So yeah, keep your thoughts, questions, and ideas coming. I'm already hard at work on the next one. Thanks so much for liking the video. Thank you for sharing these videos on Facebook and Twitter, and I'll see you on the next one.